YouTube, welcome back. Today I'm going to walk you through one very big tip that you can use to get very successful fat loss results. Now, before I go into what this big tip is, it's important to understand that this is not a necessity, okay, to get fat loss results. You don't need to do this. And what I'm going to walk you through might not be appropriate for some people and might not be something that they feel that they need to do or want to do, which is completely fine. However, if you're looking for the best results that you can get, I feel that this is a very important and useful tool that you can use to get those results. I'm going to walk you through what that is and then why and how that can be so helpful. If you do enjoy the video, please drop a like. If you have any questions throughout, throw them down below. If you haven't already, please do subscribe. Let's go. Okay, so that big tip and useful tool that you can use to get the best results when it comes to fat loss or even adding muscle mass is tracking data. Okay, now I'm going to walk you through what I mean by tracking data and how tracking data can be so useful. Okay, so tracking data is simply tracking various different factors which you think are important to know, to monitor, to measure, to then help you make better decisions when it comes to your fat loss efforts. Okay, so for example, some of those different factors that you might want to track might be your body weight, okay, your measurements, might want to be your the amount of calories you're having day to day, might want to be the amount of steps you're hitting day to day. Okay, that's just a few different examples. Okay, and you can track whatever you feel might be necessary. So for example, if you've seen my 10-week fat loss phase, you'll see that I used this and I did this and I tracked other various factors. So I also tracked stuff like sleep and training sessions. You can even track stuff like stress. And there's various different things that you can track. And again, it comes down to what you feel is necessary to help you get the best results. Now, the reason why tracking this sort of data can be so helpful when it comes to fat loss is because you simply can't control what you don't measure. So in a fat loss environment, what we're trying to control is fat loss. We're trying to control the rate of fat loss that we are getting. Now, if we're not measuring a lot or some of the factors that are going to contribute to fat loss and dictate fat loss, if we're not measuring those, then we're going to find it very difficult to control that outcome, which is fat loss. Okay? So again, as I said at the very beginning of the video, it's not necessary to track these because, in a general sense, you can do general things, change general habits, behaviours, and you can probably get a fat loss response, right? The response that you're getting might not be the most controlled response. Okay, you might not be able to control how fast you're already losing body fat on a consistent basis, and you might be more guesstimating your way through it, which isn't an issue. Okay. If that's what you want to do and you still get the results that you're after, then that's perfectly fine. But if you're wanting a more controlled approach, you really want to make sure you're potentially, losing a certain amount of weight each week, and again, you're really looking for those best results, then you really have to control that result, which means you have to measure those factors that are going to contribute to it. So I'm going to give you an example now, a very quick one, of how you can actually use this in practice. Okay, so I'm going to give you a very brief example, right? So let's just say in this example, we're only tracking 3 different bits of information, bits of data, right? We're going to track calories, steps, and then obviously our body weight. Now, let's just say we're tracking our calories and our calories come out like 2,000 calories on average a day, and our steps come out like 8,000, okay? Obviously, we're probably training on top of this as well, but just for this example, we're just using these 2 bits of data. And then we're also tracking our body weight, because obviously we want to see what our body weight's doing over time if we're trying to achieve fat loss. In this example, our body weight has maintained, okay, so we haven't dropped body fat. Now, before I go on, again, this is just an example, right, but in a scenario where we're tracking more data, that's going to give us more information. So in a scenario like this, where weight's maintained, if in another scenario we were also tracking data such as measurements, and we had seen measurements had dropped, that could be an indicator that fat loss is actually still occurring. Okay, but it's just not showing in the weight. So this is another example, another benefit of tracking multiple bits of data. Go back to the example though. So weight's maintained on 2,000 calories and 8,000 steps. if we weren't tracking this data and weighted maintained, and we didn't know about the calories, the steps, in a general sense, we would know, okay, well that means the deficit needs to increase, so we need to be doing more and eating less, in a general sense, okay? And that means we'd have to guesstimate reducing calories and increasing expenditure, which again, you could do, and you could do very well and get, happily get the results you wanted. But if we're tracking data, it makes it a lot easier, okay? Because what we can simply do is say, right, I'm going to drop calories down to 1,800, and I'm going to increase steps to 10,000. So when we're tracking this data, we can make these fine adjustments. We can drop calories to 1,800, we can increase steps to 10,000, and then what we might find is we then drop a pound the next week in body weight. And what this has shown us is that the changes we've made have then given us the result that we're after, okay? Because we're measuring this stuff, we can control the outcome. And in that sense, if you wanted to drop 2 pounds a week, you could make the appropriate adjustments to drop 2 pounds a week. So you can increase the rate of loss, you could reduce the rate of loss. You've then got a situation where you've got so much more control over the outcome of those results. Hopefully this has given you some insight into how tracking data can be so useful for your goals. Again, I've obviously given this in a fat loss example, but it's also very useful for, when it comes to gaining muscle mass. Making adjustments to stuff like training, food intake, expenditure. Again, there's various things that we can be using it for. Hopefully you found this useful. If you did find it useful, please do drop a like. If you have any questions throughout this, throw them down below in the comments. If you haven't already, please do subscribe. Take care, and I'll catch you on the next one.